Okay, we're back live with another Between the Pages book chat, and today we have author A.A. Warne, I hope I pronounced that right, fantasy author with us to discuss her book series, The Reluctant Wizard. So take it away and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Amanda. You can call me Amanda. I'm from Sydney, Australia, and I've just released my fourth book, The Reluctant Wizard. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure to chat with you today. I've watched some of your videos and stuff online, and I'm just looking forward to this today. So why don't you give everyone a quick overview of the book and what it's about?
So The Reluctant Wizard is about Eli, who is stuck in a community that's ravaged by war between the warlocks and the wizards. And he hates what he sees. He hates the famine, he hates the suffering, and he decides to join the wizards. When he goes off to grow his magic, because we don't learn magic, we grow it. It comes from within us. And he just sees that there's just as many problems in the wizard community as there is at home. So he struggles with the war and where he finds himself, but he quickly learns that the world is not his problem to solve. It's more like he's got to find his place in the world to do the best he can. Yes, it's The Reluctant Wizard. It's 110 words. It's massive, but it's great for any reader who loves fantasy from the ages about 10 plus.
Okay, so what were your inspirations and reasons for writing the book?
So I've published 3 books previously, and my children really just are not old enough to read what I've been writing, so they're kind of really angry at me. So I decided to write a children's book for them, but at the same time I really wanted to discover what this war was between the wizards and the warlocks, without going into too much graphic detail of what a war really like. So it was kind of like following a child to see what from their perspective of how war really is, and in the community level, and you know, children these days are so advanced and so empathetic, and they really can see what's going on in the world, and there's no point in being a helicopter parent and bubbling them up. So I kind of gave Eli that space to explore what life is really like, but he also has magic, which is pretty cool. So as an inspiration, it was more, taking all the books that I've read, ancient texts, just things that I absolutely love, and rolling it into this one story. So nothing particular. No, I haven't read Harry Potter, so I didn't quickly from that. I'm probably like the only person on this planet who hasn't read it.
No, but I haven't read it either. So
yeah, it's just I just love fantasy, and I just wanted a big book that I could sit and enjoy with the kids.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about your magic system. You mentioned that it's grown, sort of. So does that mean like everyone in the world can have like a magical ability if they work at it?
Yeah, so everybody has magic, but what depending on your ability will determine your worth in society. So you can grow your magic, but there are a lot of people who wouldn't be able to grow it, and so they're limited by that particular ability. So there is no currency system. Money's not a thing. So it's all trading, and your worth is determined on that ability. So the wizards are not the only place that you can grow your magic. There are schools in the community. The wizard community is very exclusive, and you very rarely hear somebody actually attending. So Eli's kind of like the anomaly. So he gets to go. But when they do go to the wizard lands, they're all separated by their abilities. So children who train to control the weather will only control the weather. They won't deviate from what their abilities are. And for Eli, he has a few abilities, so he struggles to find his place. And he struggles to kind of grow one, because then he feels like he's neglecting something else within him. So again, he sits as an anomaly, where he finds other people who kind of have the same abilities. So there's like intelligence itself has as a magical ability, where his best friend Sax, who is just this intelligent guy who ends up researching all sorts of things to help advance the wizards in themselves. So I tried to keep the magic system quite open, and that it could evolve, it could change, depending on the situation of the communities and how they are on the everyday level. So are people eating? Are people housing? And we were looking at that humane element and trying to make sure that, if society isn't doing the right thing or helping out the poorest people, then what's the point of having a magic system? So I didn't quite structure it like a lot of writers who structure magic systems. I more kept it on, food, accommodation, things like that, things that we need as a human.
So the magic is also sort of like a class system as well, but it's more of a socialized structure as well?
Yeah, that's right. I don't want to say it's more political, but it kind of come across like that. So you've got the wizards who are at war with the warlocks, and there is a peace treaty in place. So the wizards have control during the day, and the warlocks have control at night. And that's a problem for the warlocks because people don't see them. They become like this mysterious entity that run the land that nobody sees because they're off sleeping and at home or stuck in their quarters. So the wizards kind of have control over the community. And there's no deviation between magic between any of the groups. Everybody's the same. And then they've got the communities who do not belong to any group. They're just the pawns in this war. So it is probably a little political when you break them down into groups like that. But yeah, the magic is kind of even.
Okay, so what is the difference between the wizards and the warlocks then, if the magic's the same? I mean, is it just that they're two different groups with two different ideologies, or?
Exactly, yeah. And we don't get to know what the warlocks are doing. We don't get to know anything. We just get told what they have been doing. For example, the water supply had been poisoned. So that means all the crops were unable to be attended and they were neglected. So the community had to rely on the wizards' handout of more food because a lot of people can't make food. And the people who can make food can only make so much before exhaustion kicks in. So they can't feed an entire community. So that's the thing about war. There's only so many resources. How are you going to distribute them correctly? Who gets what first, and all that type of thing.
Mm-hmm. So is there a single antagonist, or is this sort of like Eli against the social system or corruption or something?
So for book one, Eli is we just follow Eli. He's the main protagonist, and he's exploring both the community, and he then goes into the wizard land, and then he makes his big decisions from there. So we just follow him, and we're not looking at the actual political systems like that. We're just saying, okay, this is what's going on in his world, and how does he navigate that? So the world is actually really massive, but we're just kind of only getting little teasers along the way. But we primarily are focused on Eli. It is a reader for 10-year-olds, so I did keep it quite on Eli, but there is a massive world that he can explore, especially later. I've only just set the world up for book one.
Yeah, so it's more of a hero's journey story.
Oh, definitely. I modeled the hero's journey to write this book, and it's the first time I've ever done something like that. When I was studying the hero's journey, I just think, oh wow, there's so many options, there's so many stories that you could bring to this formula. And so yeah, the Reluctant Wizard is the first one that I did.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about Eli. What's he like? His flaws, his best traits, things like that.
I think his flaws is like his heart's too big. When I was a child, I wanted to do everything and anything, and I never wanted to be limited by the world, and I kind of feel like Eli's a bit like that. His heart is too big. He thinks that he can solve the world's problems, And he's very empathetic, so he has the ability to feel other people's feelings, and he has to determine how to feel his own feelings or like deal with other people's feelings. So he is very caring and loving, and when he makes friendships, he doesn't make them easily, but when he does, he keeps them, and they're very strong and they mean the world to him.
Okay, so what was the hardest scene for you to write in the book?
Oh, good question. I think it was trying to get all the pieces together. So I originally wrote this book with the war at the end because I thought exploring the Wizardland was the most important thing. But it wasn't my editor who said to me, look, I've written this back to front. If I click around all these places and redo it, it would work out so much better. And she was totally right. The story is just full on from the minute go. And I kind of felt like when I first was writing it, I had this great idea, great character in this great world, and I was just exploring it. That second rewrite, when I threw everything back to front, that's when I had the full control over it. And now I kind of feel like I'm just following him. He's telling me what the story is, and I'm just trying to keep up.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
I'm like, who's in control here? Clearly it's not me.
No, the characters are always in control. You have little plans, and they come along and they say, nope, not doing that.
And I got the editor in this year, and she's like, maybe this. I go, oh God, that works perfectly. I have to go back and do it all again.
Okay, so what was your favorite scene to write in the book?
Oh, that's a hard trick. I love the whole thing, and I just love seeing how far Eli is willing to go. Like he makes these decisions, and he sees the consequences straight away. But there's always that unpredictability, and I kind of feel like saying, okay, you're in control here. How can I pull the wool from underneath your feet and kind of put you in that awkward part? It's definitely the ending. And the end, I had the whole book set up, and I'm a twisty person, so I love to throw a twist in there. And people I know who have already read the book, they're like, I got to the last 50 pages, and they're like, oh no, this is an Amanda book. Where's the twist? So every book I write, there's this twist where I go, okay, here's everything. Oh, now you're going to go through this part. So that's my thing, and I love it. So I have to say that's my favorite, but I can't tell you what it is because it will ruin the ending.
Yeah. I've been known to throw a twist or two in myself, so
I know
that.
Yeah, and then I'm like, here, read this book, and then you're like, just wait till you get to that part.
Yes, yeah, you think you're safe, but you're not.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so are any of your secondary characters a little quirky or like to steal the scenes?
So I've got Uncle Isaac, and he is the guy that steps in and is like very bossy, and he's like, no, don't do this and don't do that, and it's kind of a big contradiction because it's something he would do himself anyway. So I quite like him because Eli knows what he's doing, but Isaac will be like, no, you don't do that. And then Eli's stuck with, well, I know I'm safe doing this. Why are you telling me not? So he kind of pushes Eli's boundaries really badly. Then Eli shares a room with a girl called Car. And so even though all the names are weirdly spelled, you can pronounce them however you like, but that's how I pronounce it. And Car is mysterious. And I kind of feel like she's completely developed, but I haven't found her story completely. And she kind of wants to let people know, oh, I do this, but I'm hiding this. And I do that, and I'm hiding this. So I would love to follow Car's story one day and see just whereabouts she's going. So I feel like she's stealing it for me.
Okay, so who's your favorite character?
Oh, definitely Eli. Yeah, and just everybody he meets and he learns who they are. He cares for them. He's got a bully in the book, and even though he's having a hard time, he just puts all that kind of negativity back and says, I really feel sorry for you. And he's just a really cool kid. I think he's a modern day kid, which these kids today, they see everything. They're overstimulated completely, and I kind of try to encapsulate that into Eli. So he's a pretty cool one.
Okay. So which one of your characters would you like to hang out with in real life?
Oh, Carl. Yeah, definitely Carl. Yeah, because when you've got that mysterious person who really want to talk, but they just hold themselves back because they're not sure, that's who she is. Yeah.
Okay, so you obviously write in the fantasy genre, but have you written in any other genres, or are there any other genres you'd like to write in?
So I've got a story called Franken-Santa. That is a bit fantasy. It's a bit of horror. It's a bit of comedy. I generally don't find myself a funny person, but that story needed the comedy to offset me killing Santa Claus in three little elves. And it is funny. You've got three naughty elves who just at each other the whole time in a funny way. There's a bit of comedy in that. So I kind of call myself a speculative writer because I push the fantasy genre quite far. Sometimes I break out of it and then tag on a little subgenre. But because I'm quite fluid over the genres, I write speculative fiction. Yeah.
Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up here, and I'll let you tell everyone where they can find you and your books.
Well, thank you so much for having me. But you can find me at aawarne.com, any social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. It's AA Warne.
Okay, so thank you for being here. It was a pleasure chatting with you today. And between the pages book chat, we'll be back next weekend with some more authors. So tune in then, and bye for now.
Bye.